Now, nearly 3 years ago, Lucy Barnard was hit by a car while riding her bike. The near-death experience left her with spinal inflammation and severe brain injury.
But when a doctor suggested that her recovery would be improved if she challenged herself in a decision-making environment, Lucy's adventure began, and she decided to walk from the southern tip of Argentina to the northern edge of Alaska. Yes, we caught up with Lucy from Chile at the beginning of the year, and now we are checking in with her, and she is in Ecuador. Lucy Barnard, welcome. Great to have you back on Weekend Breakfast. Now, you're in Ecuador at the moment. Bring us up to date with how you have been travelling. What a journey.
Oh, it has been incredibly different this year. I cannot begin to explain. I think the most challenging part of the entire trip has been crossing the Atacama desert, and it has just been something that I don't think anything could have prepared me for. What
has been so challenging that you didn't anticipate in terms of that difficulty of getting across that desert?
Well, I really should have anticipated it, but the heat, the isolation was really difficult. And above everything else, I had to change the entire form of my walk and take a cart with me. And that was because I needed to carry 20 to 40 litres of water with me at any time. And it just really put an extra toll on my body.
That is enormous. Now, for our viewers, many of our viewers will know your story from the last time we spoke to you, but give us a bit of an idea of just what you're planning to do and what you've already done.
Okay, well, I'm attempting to become the first woman to walk the length of the world. I started in Ushuaia, Argentina, and I will continue all the way through until I reach Barrow, Alaska.
And how long have you been going so far?
I've almost reached 2 years and I've covered about 6,000 kilometres.
And I know you were hesitant to put a timeline on just how long this would take, but are you any more keen to say how long it's going to take, or are you even more reluctant?
Yeah, a little bit more reluctant because every time I make a plan, it changes. Originally, I thought it would take 3 years, and now I think 5 years is more reasonable.
You've got a lot of people following you on social media. You've got a great blog that talks very honestly about the challenges that you're facing and also about that motivation of that accident that you had. Do you think that the doctor may have thought that you could have done something a little different to such an enormous challenge to help with your recovery?
My doctor is fantastic. When I told him that I wanted to walk the length of the world, his reaction was, well, of course. He was really supportive, and then we went and made a medical plan of all the different things that I would need to know and to be careful about, how to look after myself if I became food poisoned, water poisoned, what vaccines I needed. And if I'm ever in trouble, he welcomes emails and will give me advice as quickly as he can.
Lucy, we're seeing some wonderful images there, and one of those is of Wombat, your dog. So I must ask you about Wombat, because Wombat is a new addition to this epic adventure that you're on since, of course, we spoke to you 12 months ago.
Yeah, you know, I always wanted to get a dog to walk with me. The primary motivator for that is just to improve my security, but also to help with loneliness. And Wombat's a blue heeler, so he is by nature very protective and quite a good guard dog. And from the age of 3 months, he'd been barking whenever anything came close to my tent. And he's a fantastic companion. He's also full of energy, and I wasn't intending to get a puppy. They are a lot of work, but the work is really paying off.
And are you finding that that companionship is helping you at those times where you have feelings of loneliness?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, especially passing through the desert, I really was uncertain about taking a puppy through the desert with me. But once I had all the preparations sorted, I was more confident about being able to carry enough water and food for the both of us. But I certainly increased the challenge of that particular component. And I have to say that on days where I had to stop and recover, or in times of rest, or even in times when I was walking up steep hills and it was really difficult and there was a lot of sand and just bad weather, having a dog with me really made it a lot more possible, just easier.
You talk about many challenges in your blog and also on social media. What has been, are you able to pick out the greatest challenge?
I think the greatest challenge is isolation. You know, you can always take an extra step. Even though it's really, really difficult, ultimately, when there's nobody to talk to and you have to make constant decisions on your own and you can't reach out for someone just to give you some reassurance, that above everything else has definitely been the most difficult aspect of this walk.
I know you've also written that you've been surprised and just so lucky to have so much kindness shown towards you as well.
You know what? Absolutely. And in the desert, the people who live there have just really wanted to help me get through and really believed that I could do it. So that's definitely one thing that has been an absolute highlight. And again, there's a really strong community now on the Facebook page. And when I'm having a hard time, I tend to write what's going on, and people just pour in all these gorgeous letters. And it doesn't sound like it would make a difference, but to be honest, I save those letters and then I read them when I'm really miserable. And it just helps me get through those days. And I've really learnt that when I'm having a hard time, I just need to take a break. And then in a day or two, I'm ready to go again.
Well, it's wonderful to talk to you. It's fascinating to read your blog, and I imagine all those people that are aware of your journey and those that aren't and now are will get in touch with you and know that their communication matters to you. Lucy Barnard, thanks very much for joining us on Weekend Breakfast. Good luck, keep going, and a big cuddle to Wombat too.
Oh, thanks so much and Happy New Year.
What an amazing adventurer. She epitomises resilience, doesn't she?
She really does. I mean, it was an absolutely terrible accident that she had while cycling, and to think that here she is and she's doing this incredible adventure. She's originally from Brisbane, 35 years old, and this is what she's been doing for the last 2 years. And as she said today, up to 5 years, maybe longer.
Oh, we saw that map of her journey. Every time I look at that, I think, that is just incredible.
That smile, that Australian spirit, you just love it. It's great.
Great story.